Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So a little bit of a different video today. So I'm going to be going through 4 top tips to help stop your prolapse from worsening. So this is something that comes up. A lot of women are worried about their pelvic floor symptoms worsening, be that incontinence or prolapse. So I just want to share you a few things that have helped me and have helped the women that I've worked with. So I'm Alice, I'm a former gynae nurse, and I had a prolapse after my 3rd baby. It was absolutely devastating, but I found hypopressives and I've actually used that to keep myself pretty much symptom-free and returning to exercise and back to normal activities when I was severely restricted and in a lot of discomfort, bulging, heaviness, that kind of thing. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. So my first top tip is if Kegels haven't worked for you, and they didn't work for me, and they don't work for about 50% of women with prolapse, they're much better for women that are experiencing incontinence, try hypopressives. So I've got lots of information here, or you can book a one-to-one with myself, one of my coaches. But basically, hypopressives gets the pelvic floor working synergistically with your diaphragm, so with your breath. So we tap into the natural pelvic floor contraction and release through breath work. What it does, it lifts, strengthens and tones the pelvic floor, reducing symptoms of heaviness, bulging, needing to splint to go to pass a bowel movement. It reduces, all that discomfort around that and that kind of pelvic congestion that you can get with prolapse. So if Kegels haven't helped, then definitely worth looking into hypopressives and have a little look at some of the stuff I've got here on my channel to get you started. The second thing that comes up a lot is that if you have been diagnosed with a prolapse, you may be really, really fearful of movement. And that may be because you've been told not to lift, to reduce your exercise, and actually you can end up in a situation where you are struggling to do any sort of exercise, which is obviously really essential for us to stay fit and active, whether we're younger or whether we're older. So if we don't exercise, we're obviously going to lose whole body strength and tone, and that is really going to compromise us as we get older. So in terms of returning to exercise with a prolapse, obviously you want to get your symptoms down as much as possible before you go into things like impact or weight training, things like that. But there's lots of things you can do which are low impact or aren't going to exacerbate your symptoms just before you are getting your symptoms down. So walking is great, Pilates, yoga, and you can build it, and swimming, and even like doing spin classes as well are brilliant as well. So there are lots of things you can do, but if you do want to return to things which like strength training, running, things like that, and actually you feel that your prolapse symptoms are restricting you, then a pessary is probably going to be a game changer for you. So you can use pessaries. They're like these little rings, or you can get them as a cube and you insert them into your vagina. You can have them all the time or just when you're doing exercise. And basically it's like a sports bra for your pelvic floor. So if you are wanting to get back into things like that, that might be something to consider. And you can potentially access that through your GP, through the NHS. There are more places providing pessary fittings now, or if not, you can go through a private provider to get one fitted, and it would be really worthwhile to keep you active to have that. And a lot of people are worried about pessaries. They want to be okay without one, and I totally get that. And you may be totally okay without one, but actually it's going to give you that extra layer of support, which is likely to enable you to be able to do more things. And obviously we want to stay as fit and as active as possible. And the stronger we are, the better that is overall for our pelvic health as well. So so don't be fearful about movement, and obviously work to get your symptoms down, and then work other things into your exercise routine that work, and consider a pessary. So the third thing I want to look at is learn how to breathe properly when you lift. And whether or not you've got a prolapse or you're experiencing incontinence, you've probably noticed that when you do things which, like everyday activities, which essentially increase the pressure in your tummy and your pelvic area, so coughing, sneezing, lifting, maybe some exercises, lifting up your kids, lifting up the washing basket, even just at the end of the day when you feel a bit more tired, your pelvic floor feels a bit, is struggling a bit more at the end of the day. Learning how to breathe properly when you lift is really essential. So a lot of us will reflexively take a breath in when we go to lift something, and what you're doing then is you're increasing pressure. Obviously your lungs are filling up with air, and that's putting more just natural pressure in this area here. So if you exhale before you go to lift, and even do a pelvic floor squeeze as well, that's really going to support that movement and help to manage the pressure as you're doing lifting and stuff like that. So you'd exhale, obviously you're gonna probably hip hinge if you're gonna want to lift something. Probably don't do it like this. You wanna really help yourself, maybe move closer into it, hold it closer to you. But basically what you want to do is that exhale, squeeze and lift your pelvic floor, keep breathing through the movement, and that should really, really help reduce the pressure while you are going to lift things. For some women, that can be enough to just reduce their symptoms that they were getting during lifting. And the fourth thing I want to go over is, just very briefly, is try not to strain when you're going to the toilet. So I know, and for women that I've worked with, and I had this problem before I did hypopressives, I had to support my perineum when I went to the toilet. And it can be really distressing to have to do that. And obviously toning and strengthening the pelvic floor is going to help that, and we work with lots of ladies who've got to the stage where they don't need to do that anymore, which is great. But things you can do is have your feet elevated so you've got your knees higher than your hips. So pop your feet on 2 toilet rolls or one of those little step stools. So that's really good. Lean forwards as well, and then breathe through it rather than straining, because when we strain, the pelvic floor is going to respond by tightening to resist that sort of pressure coming down, and so it's going to tighten the pelvic floor. And actually some of the reasons why people struggle to go is because they can't relax enough to go. So make sure you've got a healthy diet, you're drinking plenty, that you're walking regularly, sort of exercising, and just watch out for that. So as much as possible, avoid straining, and obviously see a healthcare provider if you need some help with sort of managing that a bit better. But those are the 4 top tips that came into mind with managing your prolapse symptoms and stopping worsening. Obviously have a little look into hypopressives if Kegels aren't working for you, and have a little think about those 4 tips. If any of those feel like they resonate with you, then do leave me a comment, and I hope this video has been helpful.